Good day and welcome to Obidati Family TV. This is Diaspora Diaries. My name is P. Catch, and with me in the studio today is my co-host
Ife Grace. Welcome to Diaspora Diaries.
Yes, welcome to Diaspora Diaries. All right, Diaspora Diaries is a program where we get to interact with Nigerians in the diaspora and we get to find out exactly what they are doing concerning the upcoming elections. Of course, these Nigerians in the diaspora are the ones that want a better Nigeria, and of course, they are also obedient. All right, joining us all the way from Calgary, Canada is Dotun Oyebolu. He's a digital marketing professional and also a member of the Obedient Global Movement. Mr. Dotun, you're welcome to the program this afternoon. Yes. First of all, we would like to know more about you and what's happening in Calgary, Canada.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I guess I'll share what's happening to me, in regards to the obedient movement, as it were. Again, like you said, I'm a member of the Obedient Global Movement, OGM, which was a community founded in Canada, with the sole purpose of helping fellow citizens back in Nigeria with regards to, mobilizing and trying to move things forward with regards to the Obidati campaign. Some of the things that we all try to do on our end is sometimes, fundraising, in some cases, doing some, reaching out to people back home. Like you said, we remit, I think, about 20 billion dollars annually, whether it's from official or unofficial means. So we're using that power as those in the diaspora to say, okay, yes, we cannot vote, uh, but we want to be able to exact our influence however way we can to help those back home to really see why they need to be obedient, because as people would say, many of us in diaspora have tasted life and we see how things should work. Even in Canada, it's a lot more structured than other popular countries like in the US. So it's that realization that gave us that purpose, I would say, almost a year ago, in helping us to say, okay, this is our focus, this is why we need to do this, and this is why we want to see a better Nigeria, a Nigeria that we can be proud of, a Nigeria that, for many of us, don't even mind coming back if they have to, because there's no place like home.
Okay, from what you just said about the Obedient Global Movement, it seems as if it was formed in Canada. I would like to know, what is the strength of obedient people in Canada, and what more are you guys doing?
Okay, that's a very good question. In terms of the Obedient Global Movement as a group, I think we are heading to about 400 members strong. But I think in terms of the number of obedience in general, that's most likely almost every diaspora out there. There are different estimates that throw diaspora from between 6 and 15 million people all around the world. In Canada, we are probably eaching up to about 200,000 in total from Nigeria. But I have been in some fora where, we have people that are supporting different other candidates, which they definitely have a right to. However, I believe that the majority of people that I have personally come across who are not direct members of the OGM are definitely obedient. And it just makes sense. It's just an easy decision. Like I said before, uh, most of us that live here abroad live in a very structured society. We live in a society that has none of the problems that is being faced by many in Nigeria. I've been here for a number of years, and NEPA, as would call it, we've not even had one instance where we're out of power, and so on and so forth. So many of us abroad have seen this, and seeing a leader that has, the qualities, character, competence, capability to be able to turn things around with good intentions, is what gives us hope, is what gives us joy. Something else I just also wanted to say is that personally, me being drawn to the obedient movement also shows because of the candidacy that we have, right? When you see Peter Obi speak, or when you see that Baba Ahmed speak, you can see how they break down problems, they see the root of the problems, they analyze the problems. This sort of aligns to the way into how many of us in diaspora think. And the Nigerian diaspora is one of the best in the world. Especially in the US, Nigerians are the most educated groups of people in the world. So, being able to see that Nigerians are, coming together one way or the other. They are more stronger members in the US, and in different areas, so even in Australia, that seems very far. So, seeing us in our strength, seeing all the things that we are doing internationally with whether it's Victor Osimhen or our hotline, just the name just crossed my mind right now, can't cross my mind right now, and so many other people that are doing great, because they received support from outside the US. They, all of them, whether it's silently or publicly, want a better Nigeria, which is why, it's just an easy choice to support Peter Obi and Dati Baba Ahmed and the Labour Party, which I haven't mentioned yet.
Okay. Grace, you have a question for him?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Mr. Doctor, that's a lovely one. My question is, diaspora voting has become significant since the 20th century. Do you think Nigerians can be able to reach to that level in terms of diaspora voting?
I believe, that in the no distant future, that is something that will be enabled. And, like I said before, that 6 to 15 million votes might be something that will be crucial in elections going forward, right? A lot of other countries, I have done this. Kenya, did do this. And I don't know why Nigeria was not at the forefront of this, but again, yesterday and then last night, whichever administration comes in, and we believe, of course, the Labour Party will come in. It's already written in the manifesto, which I have personally read, that the diaspora voting bill, will need to be passed so that people can, even if they want, if Peter Obi or Andati don't perform, we can vote him out even from Calgary, thousands of miles away from Nigeria. So my hope is that in the next regime, and I'm talking about within the decade, that this sort of bill is passed, and people abroad who are responsible for some type of foreign exchange, right? We are bringing in revenue just like oil, and this is just official revenue. People send money through WhatsApp, P2P. That's even another industry altogether. With that kind of equity or investment, I think diasporans also deserve a right, to vote in or out, and contribute to what Nigerians back home are doing.
Okay, I see. Mr. Obi has made it known, that's his intention, that if he becomes the president, that he is going to push the diaspora voting. Do you think he can actually pull this?
Yeah, I know a lot of people, especially some of the critics of the movement, say, if he comes in, he will not even be able to sign his name into office. And so on and so forth, because they are not members of Labour Party in the parliament. But I think what is really important is not about personal interest. I think what is important is patriotic interest, or the interest of a good Nigeria. And I think at the base of everything is the idea. Okay, if the Peter Obi administration comes with a presentation of this idea, regardless of which party that is involved, my belief is that whether it's in the House or the Senate, the Parliament should be able to embrace that idea for the good of the idea, not because I'm in one party or the other or whatever it is. Whether the Labour Party is 100% strong or 1% strong, I think this at the root, is presentation of the idea, and that one idea being the diaspora voting bill. I think if presented properly, if presented with the right intentions, uh, I have a belief that Nigerians, especially their representatives, will consider that proposal in the way it is and will accept it. I mean, look at some of the successes that we've made that we believe we've never made. The stuff with the beavers and some of those other improvements that we've seen, in our democracy in just the past decade. So I think there's a changing of the old guard, there's a changing of the old order, and we are beginning to see Nigerians that are more patriotic than before, in its history. So it's my belief that whether there is a party interest or not, I think the Labour Party's administration will come with a culture of idea. I don't know if it's the word idealism, or a government that is run by ideas to change the country for the better.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about Mr. Peter B now. All right, so we've seen the clamor. A lot of people, young people especially, want Peter B to be the next president of Nigeria. What do you think makes Peter B stand out from the other candidates in this race?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I will start with personally and what I believe, Nigerians and obedience believe. Personally, I had worked for a bank where, Peter Obi was just an outgoing chairman. And that was where I started to hear about him as this man who, in our language, they give shishi, and this was back in 2011. But that time passed, and then there was a time when he became the governor, and had all this what I would call never seen before, achievements, as it were. I remember a channel's interview that I had where the anchor said, "You have done everything that needs to be done at the state level, and we believe that your vision is either global or national." And I quite agree with that anchor that was saying that to Peter Obi in that interview at that time. And so when he, of course, we know Peter Obi had different journeys, but when he came to this point in May of last year, we thought, wow, okay, we think this is an opportunity where the phrase "it go better" is actually going to be better for real. You get? And I think many Nigerians who are really facing fuel scarcity at this moment, many Nigerians who are facing lack of cash at the moment, many Nigerians who are facing lack of power at the moment, many Nigerians who have no education at the moment, and many of these problems who feel, how can I get out? Is there a way I can get out? Are seeing hope through Peter Obi. They've looked at his antecedents. A lot of us, including myself, are mesmerized by his intellect, his very high capacity, even and the age and everything. It just seems like everything about him falls into place, and also his approach to solving Nigeria's problems. I am a digital marketing strategist, and in strategy, you have to first be able to analyze the problem. You must be able to work out how the problem happened by numbers, and that is what Peter Obi has done, in these many speeches on how he wants to revive Nigeria. Many of the other candidates will be like, oh yes, we'll do this, we'll do that, we've done this before, we'll do that, and so on and so forth. But Peter Obi comes with a very qualitative approach to solving Nigeria's problem, which is really what we need. And again, I have looked at his manifesto. I think they are not just brilliant ideas, but they are also ideas that are not rocket science, according to what Peter Obi sometimes will say. Things like the hourly pay for civil servants, things like even just creating a program that will reduce the Stockholm syndrome that Nigerians have faced for almost since independence. Things like the power generation targets of 25,000 megawatts by the end of 5 years, and so many of those ideas that have been written very qualitatively. Is it ideas that affect education? Is it ideas that affect our basic amenities? Is it even ideas that affect our sports, right? And so on and so forth. There was a publication that was put out, I think, by the Big Tent on some of the things, or some of the ways in which Peter Obi and the Labour Party wants to implement some of these ideas. I think people should check out that post online to see for how in 42 stages, they have planned to implement the how. Many journalists these days are asking, what is the how? The how, the how. The Labour Party knows the why, they know the what, and they know the how on how to fix this country. It's not about religion. It's not about ethnicity. I am a Yoruba and I'm supporting him. It's not about any of these sentiments that have held us as a country down. Peter Obi and Dati and the Labour Party have come to transform not just Nigeria. Like I tell my people, they have come to emancipate Africa from a very sentimental country into a country that will rely on capacity, competence, capability, integrity, and compassion, to move this continent forward. We are ready to shake the world before the end of the decade.
Okay, I think you already started answering my next question with that last piece of information. I was going to ask from your name, it's Dotun Oyebolu, and obviously you're from the Southwest. All right, so but in Nigeria today, we still have a lot of people that would tell you that they would vote people from their own tribe, okay? And they don't care if the other person that you're talking about is going to change Nigeria and improve Nigeria. What is important for them is voting someone that they can access, someone that they can relate to, someone that they can understand. How far do you think the politics of tribe and religion is going to play in these coming elections?
I would like to say something first before I answer your question directly. I think, speaking for those in the diaspora, if you, as a Nigerian, regardless of the tribe, you are black, as it were, right? And we are in this world of the diaspora of the West, whereby, in diversity, equity, and inclusion has become the mainstay, whether it's in the corporate society or in the government. So there is less emphasis on whether you are white or black or colored or whatever. There's more emphasis on what is in your brain, basically, as a human being, and what can you offer to the society. Nigerians are very hardworking people, so a lot of governments around the world like Nigerians because they'll give them a lot of taxes after they work, which is a good thing in a way. And people just wonder, I do this so much work. Um, I wish I'm in Nigeria where the system is working just as this, so that I can also contribute in there. So the mindset is one of the problems that we have. In diaspora, there is a mindset of openness based on merit and things like that. But I think in Nigeria, because of our culture, we are really seeded into this ethnicity or tribalism or religion, in terms of like what you said, how I can relate to this person better and so on and so forth. But as a man of faith myself, Jesus said in the Bible that some of your worst enemies are your family members. So I think we need to start to change our mindset as a people, which is why I'm excited that the obedient movement is carried by young people. We need to change our mindset as a people to say, life is not really about ethnicity and all these things. These are just labels that people have used to create boundaries on each other. A famed scientist in the US called Neil deGrasse said, if aliens were to come to the earth, they will be shocked as to how divided human beings are. And they are divided based on things at its basic level that should not be divided, you know. So I think and I know it's one of the aims of the Labour Party to have some sort of reorientation of the public, whether educated or not, on why some things matter in the 21st century and why some things do not matter in the 21st century. I still battle with some people who still stick to that, tribal or religious sentiment. But I think in a large scale, we should appreciate the progress that has happened in terms of that mindset change as well, that see, it doesn't really matter. It's all about, saving this country. It's all about capacity. We have given chances to people who are in our tribe or in our religion, and they failed us. Like Peter Obi and the Labour Party would say, nobody buys bread cheaper in is it Katsina that Buhari is from? Nobody buys bread cheaper or buys anything cheaper because you are from the state where the president or the governor is or whatever it is. So right now we have a universal problem that should be solved by a Nigerian, not an Igbo person or whatever, however people want to see that. It needs to be solved by a Nigerian. So that is what we should stick to. That is the mindset we should all carry going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. Just recently, the Middle Belt Forum and the Afenifere group, came together to endorse P2B. Even Pa Ayo Adebanjo himself, the leader of the Afenifere group, has championed the Obidati movement, okay? And he has even said that if Obi doesn't win, that we should forget Nigeria. That's some strong statement. All right, we're going to continue this conversation when we come back from this very short break. Ladies and gentlemen, we're still here with Dotun Oyebolu. And when we come back from this short break, we'll continue the conversation. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is my message to the Nigerian youths. I am glad that we have this great opportunity to discuss about the future of this country, Nigeria. Nigeria belongs to all of us, but to the youths most especially. I am super proud of what the youths have done, the realization that indeed the power lies with the youth. Indeed, successive governments and leadership have failed the youth. They've dismissed their capacity, the creativity, innovation. And this is why we are where we were. I am here to speak to you that not only am I proud of you, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, is super proud of you. We are proud of the movement you're leading and all the sacrifices being made for a better Nigeria. I can tell you, Peter Obi means well for Nigerian youths. He will run a youth-inclusive government and purposeful leadership that will usher in a new dawn for generations to come. Job issues, unemployment, and indeed all the other hazards that we face as a younger generation, I believe will be a thing of the past, at least reduced significantly. I'm here to remind you that we are the last lap of this race when we all need to come to the consciousness that the effort we're going to put in the next coming weeks can change our trajectory completely and positively. So I want to urge you, do what you can to keep on the fight until a better Nigeria is achieved. You need to make sure that you realize again that you actually the one running for presidency, just using P2B and Dati Baba Ahmed as symbol. We are coming for a better Nigeria. This is time to vote for Labour Party. The logo is Papa, Mama, Pikin, or LP. On that day, come out in mass, show your energy, show your creativity, do everything you need to do positively to make sure your votes count. That means waiting till the end. I am thankful to God for what the Nigerian youths are doing. God bless you all. Thank you.
You're welcome back to the program Diaspora Diary on Obidati Family TV. All right, we've been talking to Dotun Oyebolu all the way from Calgary in Canada, and we'll be talking to him about the roles Nigerians and the diaspora are playing regarding the coming elections. Mr. Dotun, you're still there, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
There you are. All right, we have barely 18 days to the elections. From your observation point over there in Calgary, Canada, what would you have to say about INEC and their preparedness towards the elections?
Yeah, in all fairness, I think if we compare all the effort of all the independent organizations in the country, their performance in the past, 6 to 9 months, I personally think is one of the few that have been as independent as possible. And I know a lot of people may not really agree with me on that, but if we really look at it, if we look at what CBN has done, for example, if we look at all what some of the other organizations have done, for example, and we compare that one on one, we'll see that what INEC is doing is not an easy feat. However, I think there's a lot of more work that needs to be done. I personally am an optimist, so I think the commission is doing everything they can in their power to make sure that this election is free, fair, and credible. Because our president, as we know, Buhari had mentioned this, in the UN summit, not just in the US summit, it's more of an open secret right now that Buhari wants to leave with a credible, fair election, an election that would not just rival, but beat the election of 1993 in terms of the fairness and the non-corruption that happens. So, I would say to the citizens that are listening right now to please have faith in what INEC is doing, encourage them. I'm not saying you should not give them constructive criticism, but encourage them to say, yeah, you guys keep up the good work, but we need you guys to be ready for us, in 18 days time. We want to make sure, for example, one of the biggest problems is, when this data is being transmitted at the polling unit. How about if we have internet problems? Things like that. Those are the things that need to be resolved. And the issue that recently happened, where we had a governor that had won through the new INEC system and had now been sacked. In fact, the word used by media now is called sack. So we don't want that issue, because we don't want an issue whereby somebody wins fair and square, and then you say, there's overvoting or whatever that problem is. And I know there are a few representatives of INEC, those who are working there or not working there, that are, also speaking to the media and making updates. I did hear that there were about, I think, was it 1.5 million? I may be wrong with that figure in terms of 1.5 million people who have been recruited that will help during the election time day. But my point basically is Nigerians, please have faith in the system, encourage them, give constructive criticism as to things that needs to still be worked on. But I personally think that their commitment is not going to change as to having the election being the freest and the fairest in this country's history.
Okay, I kind of share in your optimism towards INEC, and we just all hope that they deliver free and credible elections. Just like you pointed out, Buhari seems to be keen on leaving a legacy of having a very clean elections. Okay, but also, as you pointed out, one of the bottlenecks that we have seen so far in the electoral process, especially post-elections, is the courts. It seems as if when one loses at the polls, okay, elections, they go forward to the courts to claim the mandates or regain their mandates or whatever it is. And it seems as if that case is the final, okay, especially when it gets to the Supreme Court, it's final. And do you have trust and faith in the judicial system in Nigeria? Just yesterday, a news broke that Ahmed Lawan is now the senator representing Yobe North, even though he didn't participate in the primaries, okay, because he was in the presidential primary. So should we be scared that even though INEC delivers a credible elections, that the mandate could still be bought through the courts?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I know the courts, intervening in election has not been it's not a new thing, even in Nigeria. It's also something that has happened at the presidential level in other countries of the world, like the US, for example, where George Bush and Al Gore had to slug it out among themselves. I I I I would like to say, number one, my personal hope is that this election runs naturally, and without any shadow of doubt, the Labour Party emerges the winner, right? But in terms of the court system, I think it's going to be a lot of pressure. If it ever gets to that stage, there'll be a lot of pressure to either do the right thing or do the wrong thing, even at the Supreme Court level. I mean, our judicial system, it's there, whether it's good or not. At least we've got something that is quite high up there. But we cannot rule out the fact that corruption is still at the bane of Nigerian society at every level. And my question usually is, the person seeking, right now we are in an age whereby people are using the courts as a means to punch themselves in the face during this election campaign. I don't want to give those other parties free publicity. So my fear would be, would these judges be acting in a fair manner, or would they be bought by a price at that stage? But here's where I stand on that. We are at a crossroad in Nigeria. And like I used to tell my friends, if we don't do something about this country, we will run out of luck. I enjoy Nigerians to read or watch documentaries out there that relay the history of Nigeria from independence to this state and see where we are. And what I'm about to say is that if we are not careful about the situation of this country, we'll have the worst state ever recorded in its history. Right? Somebody was making a joke to me that if people don't vote wisely in this election, at the end of the day, Nigeria will be rented out to China. So we need to be, I think the situation of the country is dire enough to prick the conscience of anyone, whether at the highest level or at the lowest level, even the voter who has been paid to say, take, vote buying, buy, vote for me. We will be shocked as to how people are going to vote their conscience on this election day, because the hardship right now is at its highest. We are very close. We've seen some instances in Oyo State. We are very close to civil unrest because of the things that are happening in this country. It's a Nigerian proverb that if you push me to the wall, I will turn back. People are beginning to turn back because they've been pushed to the wall. So I'm saying all this because even the judicial system will act in truth and justice, because they know. I believe we do the same, because we are at this point right now that people's conscience are pricked, right? They cannot, it's hard to, but no matter what, it's more like a deal with the devil that cannot just be broken. But I think Nigerians, in our language, Nigerians mumu don't do.
Hmm. Okay, hopefully our Mumu don't do indeed, and some people would use good conscience to vote this time around. Grace has a question for you.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Dottu, as a digital marketer and also living in Canada, I believe you're 100% supporting Mr. P2B. So I want to know what and what have you done so far personally to make sure that Mr. P2B emerged the winner in the upcoming election?
Okay, man, you are putting me on the spot. Yeah, so like I said, I'm a member of the Obedient Global Movement, a movement that is a movement of that is mobilizing Canadians, basically, or even people in North America, to help support the movement through funds and some other areas as well. I personally worked in a media capacity and still work in a media capacity in that group. So a lot of media things that have been done. I and my team were personally at the forefront of sharing manifesto ideas on social media and some of the many other things that have been done. I also have some role at the top as well. By mean at the top, I mean at the steering committee from a media perspective. So I'm kind of, connected with some of the, the brilliant individuals that are doing great work in making sure we are using media as a very strategic tool to drive this campaign and drive it to the audience that needs to know it. I think one thing that I've learned through my experience in the last, say, 1 year is that there are so many more valuable Nigerians out there. They are not just making noise, but they are there. They are very intelligent, they are very experienced in their field. And even at this time, Nigerians have been able to work together. As you probably know, Nigeria is so different such that the difference even reflects in our work. But at this time, people have swallowed whatever they always carry on their shoulders and say, we need to get the work done. We need to do what we can to save this country. We need to get this man on the seat so that every minute he spends in administration, we are seeing a change in this country. We have seen it happen in different countries, right? Where the Zimbabwean currency is even almost more valuable than the US dollar at this point. It's because the people decided it's time to change. Let's change. Let's get the man that will fix the country. And that is the purpose. When it's a beautiful thing when people put aside whatever is something that they will usually trivialize and say, let's get the work done. Let's use our skills. Let's use our talent, whether it's in the diaspora or within the country. I have connects at different areas. Let's use all these resources that we have, to drive this movement, which is why the Obedati movement is a movement, right? The Labour Party movement is a movement never seen before in the country's history, where people are doing things on their own to, you know, um, to drive the message. Very creative ways as well. I can elaborate here, but people are just unleashing themselves. They are maximizing their potential in this campaign, which is what gives me joy and excited every time I see this. And every time the opposition said these people are all just on social media, the youth rise up and come into the physical space to say, look at us. This is what we are doing for the movement. Nobody is paying us to do this. When you go to all these rallies, you don't see people wearing uniforms. You see policemen, you see traders, you see people who are there at that rallies. You see people crying. you see people excited there's just this aura of hope that is going on, which is even greater than Hope 93, based on the situation that we are right now. So I want to take this opportunity to commend every Nigerian out there, every obedient out there. I personally and my team did a video honoring just the obedience. That's because I see so much that people are doing. I know people who are working, they don't even want their names to be heard, they don't want any recognition, they just want to get the job done. So it's incredible what everybody is doing out there, even this TV station as well, the kind of job you guys are doing. Everybody is doing we've done so much in a very short time. Let's not forget that Peter we picked this Labour Party ticket in May of last year, whether it's April or May, I can't remember now, but I believe it's May. And in less than 12 months, we've done something that none of the established parties have ever talked about. People they will say, Peter Obi will not win, Peter Obi will not win, Peter Obi will not win. And my question is, why are they so fixated on him if they don't see him as a threat? Right? So it's because of the efforts of you and I and what we've done in our own part, to do our own part to see a better Nigeria, whether it's those in Nigeria or those outside of Nigeria. And I hope that in the coming 18 days, all that effort, will come out into the results that we want.
Yeah, Mr. Dasu, that's lovely. I believe you're doing a great job. We still have 18 days.
Vote wisely. Would that change my situation? Would that change my situation forever? Would that change the situation of my family forever? Right? This 4,000 or 3,000 that these other people have given me, how long would that 4,000 take me? How long would that 4,000 sustain my life? How long would that 4,000, what would that 4,000 do to increase the quality of life I'm living currently? I think it's time for citizens who are yet undecided to sit down just for 5 minutes, sit down alone with silence, nobody around you, and just think about your future. Like I tell people in the diaspora that people are doing this out of love. We have people in the diaspora who have 3 citizenships. They really don't need to be a Nigerian at this time, but they are. You should ask yourself why. Why do they still love this country despite the fact that they are comfortable? It's all because there is a future that can be grabbed. We are seeing the future now. And if we miss this future, I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know if my friend is right.
PKACH across all media platforms.